Imagine your phone is buzzing on the nightstand at 3 in the morning, the light cutting through the dark like a neon sign you never asked for. For years, you were the one who picked up. You were the emotional mechanic, the 2 a.m. therapist, the family peacekeeper who absorbed everyone's chaos like a sponge soaking up a spill. But then, one Tuesday afternoon, a name pops up on your screen, and instead of the usual rush of obligation, you feel nothing. Or rather, you feel a click. You let the call go to voicemail. You set the phone down, and for the first time in your life, the silence doesn't feel like a vacuum, it feels like a sanctuary. We're told we are living through a global loneliness epidemic, with the Surgeon General warning us that 1 in 4 adults feels completely disconnected. But here is the paradox that nobody is talking about. There is a specific group of people who are cutting ties, walking away, and going ghost, not because they are broken, but because they have never felt more at peace. You might be one of them, or you might be terrified of becoming one. By the end of this, you're going to understand the secret neural high ground that your brain has been building for decades, and why that sudden urge to delete every contact in your phone might actually be the most sophisticated thing your nervous system has ever done. This isn't just about being antisocial or moody. Understanding this shift is the difference between living in a state of constant emotional burnout and finally reclaiming your internal battery. Most people think cutting others off is a sign of weakness, but we're going to look at the hard science of why your brain might be pulling the emergency brake to save your life. You weren't born with a "do not disturb" sign on your heart. There was a version of you that was the reliable one, the person who answered every single time things fell apart. You listened to the same loops of drama, gave the same heartfelt advice, and watched people ignore it only to come back for more. Then something shifted. The world didn't end when you stopped picking up. It just got quieter. Psychologists, specifically Dr. Stephen Porges, point to something called the polyvagal theory to explain this. Your nervous system isn't just a yes or no switch. It has different gears. When you've been drained for too long, when you've given 90% and received 10% back, your brain stops asking for your opinion. It flips a switch from social engagement into what researchers call the dorsal vagal response. Think of it like a circuit breaker in an old house. If you plug in too many appliances, too many needy friends, too many toxic relatives, too many one-sided demands, the system blows a fuse to prevent a fire. That shutdown, that withdrawal, is your body conserving energy because it realizes that your energy is a finite, precious resource. But where did your brain learn that other people were a power surge to begin with? For a lot of us, this blueprint was drawn up before we could even read books. If you grew up in a home where you had to scan your parents' faces the second they walked through the door to check the emotional weather, you were training for this your whole life. You learned that love and unpredictability are a package deal. Psychologist Murray Bowen called this emotional cutoff. It's a survival adaptation where a child learns that closeness comes with a hidden tax. You became hyper-aware, sensing tension before a single word was even spoken. Now, as an adult, every time someone gets too close, that old survival blueprint starts glowing red. There is, however, a massive difference between building a wall and setting a boundary. The CDC reports that prolonged social isolation can actually kill you, raising the risk of heart disease by 29% and stroke by 32%. It's physical. But what the medical journals often skip over is that being surrounded by the wrong people, the energy vampires and the chaos seekers, is just as damaging to your biology. Walls are built from fear and they block everyone out, the good, the bad, and the neutral. Boundaries, on the other hand, are selective. If you cut someone off and your first internal reaction is a massive sigh of relief and a deep sense of peace, that's not isolation, that's protection. It's data telling you that certain people do not deserve access to your peace.
The fascinating thing about people who cut off is that they rarely do it randomly. It's actually a result of becoming incredibly good at recognizing patterns. You see the friend who only calls when their car breaks down or their partner leaves them, and you spot the pattern by month 2. You hear the backhanded compliment from a family member, and you recognize the rhythm they've been playing for years. You see the love bombing and then the inevitable disappearance before the cycle even completes. A 2023 study in Nature Neuroscience found that people who grew up with early emotional stress actually have heightened activity in the brain's threat detection regions. Your frontal lobe, the part of the brain that handles complex social decisions, is working overtime. You aren't paranoid or too sensitive. You are processing social information at a level of resolution that most people can't even perceive. That gut feeling that someone is off, that's thousands of hours of life experience refined into an early warning system. When that system tells you a person will drain you, you finally learned how to listen. Society loves to use words like withdrawn or antisocial because those words imply that you are missing something, that you are an incomplete puzzle without a crowd. But there is a much better word for what you're doing: solitude. Loneliness is the painful absence of connection you actually want, but solitude is the chosen presence of the peace you finally found. You're not sitting in a dark room wishing for the phone to ring. You're sitting in your own space, finally able to hear the sound of your own thoughts. That quiet doesn't feel like a rejection from the world. It feels like a gift you finally gave to yourself. People who don't get it will tell you that you're running away, but you know the truth. You aren't running away from connection. You are running toward clarity. You are moving toward a version of yourself that simply cannot exist in the middle of someone else's chaos. That isn't being cold or heartless. It's the realization that not everyone is entitled to your energy. Instead of letting life make you bitter, you've made the quietly fierce choice to guard your headspace and build a life that feels gentle instead of combative. The 75-year Harvard study on happiness found one definitive truth. It's not about how many people you have in your circle, it's about the quality of those connections. If your circle is shrunk down to just a few people or even just yourself for a season, but those few people actually see you and respect your peace, you aren't doing it wrong. You're doing it right. You are finally closing the open loop of people-pleasing and emotional labor. If this felt like the permission you didn't know you were looking for, you're far from alone. This is your invitation to stop being the sponge and start being the architect of your own sanctuary. Protect your peace because no one else is going to do it for you. If this resonated with your journey, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let me know in the comments. Was there a specific moment when you realized that silence was better than the wrong noise? I read every single one.